Hi, I'm Laura Lahti.
Oh, and I'm Mike Michael.
Welcome to the Home Extension.
Yeah, sorry about the last show. I broke my tooth off, so I had to go get one built. So that's why we're running late on shows. And other than that, I'm busy at school. And what have you been up to?
I've been super busy with work. Super busy. Homes aren't staying on the market at all.
That's
There's
good.
multiple offers. Trying to educate those buyers I'm working with that you're going to have to, if there's multiple offers on the table, you're going to have to do your highest and best offer if you really want this home.
Right, so
kinda
coming at
hard.
list price?
Or above.
Right. What about does anybody, gosh, I can't remember what I was going to ask you. Oh, I know. Does anybody ever because I know one person, and this is kind of out there, but literally went up to somebody's house and knocked on their door and asked them if they would sell their house to them because they like their house.
You can do that. We can do that.
I think that'd be awesome. I like that house. Let's go see if they'll sell it to me.
Depends on the price or whatnot, but
because a lot of people, I think, they don't have the idea of selling their house, but I think if you plant the seed, then they're like, maybe we should sell.
I've actually have been talking to some friends too, and just seeing if we can do single party listings. I'm like, would you be open, since you have spoken about putting your home on the market, would you be open for my clients to see your home?
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know one of my friends, she sold her house in Cross Plains, and it was on the market for maybe, 4 weeks maybe, and she had, 13, 14 people come through and look at it, and she was so concerned and all this stuff. They're like, oh God, nobody made any offers, da, da, da. I'm like, you've had 9 people go through your house or whatever, and she was worried because of the backyard or blah, 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 but now it's sold within 28 days. Mm-hmm. And now she's like, oh, now she's freaked out because now she doesn't know how to, when they were going to close, or because she thought she's moving to Minnesota, and so now these people want to move in their house, and now they have nowhere to go.
Wow.
I'm like, well, be careful what you wish for.
Exactly. I mean, it's going quick. My one listing in DeForest, we had an offer within 24 hours.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
There you go. That's cha-ching.
So that works.
So who are these men giggling over here?
We have Jake and Devin with Classic Chimneys. How are you guys?
Good. Real well.
That's great. So how about you guys talk a little bit about your business?
Well, we've been in business for 8 years. Strictly doing chimneys, basically. Cleaning, rebuilding, relining, things of that nature.
So where are you based out of, and what's the name of your company?
The name is Classic Chimneys. We're out of Madison.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
That's cool, because I know, I guess I'll just try up with a question, how often do you need to clean your chimney out?
You should have your chimney cleaned at least once a year.
Do I say that right, chimney?
Chimney.
Chimney?
Chimney.
What's chimney?
Chimney. There's many different ways. Chimney.
Outdoor fireplace.
Chimney.
But you should clean it once a year, safety reasons, and just structural. Make sure that everything's sound.
Even gas ones?
Gas should be inspected, at least inspected. Not necessarily clean, but should definitely have it checked just to make sure everything's working safely.
Well, what do you think about those Duraflame logs that they say that it'll clean out all the soot and all that stuff? Does that work? Or if you have a lot of soot, I'd be afraid to start on fire.
Right. I think, the only real way to make sure everything's good is to get in there and sweep it out and make sure everything is still inspected. Even though the chimney might not be dirty, there could be other issues.
Well, how much does it cost to have your chimney inspected? Or
we charge $165, and that's to clean and inspect the chimney.
Okay, if nothing needs to be done, then would you just leave?
Well, we'll inspect it, and it's a $75 inspection fee.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I got to charge something for showing up.
Right, but that's
Time
me
is
too.
money.
Well, that's cool. So you also rebuild chimneys?
We do.
Or what classically goes wrong with chimneys?
A lot of times you'll get water that gets inside, and then it has the freeze-thaw process, which you'll see bricks sometimes where they start to flake. It's called spalding.
Right.
And that allows more water in, and then it slowly makes its way down, and then it needs to be tore down and put back up.
Is that from expanding and contracting?
Exactly.
Just over time? It
Yep.
just
And
breaks apart the mortar or whatever?
Correct. And chimneys, they're just, you get an old chimney. It has a chimney crown on the top. If it's cracked, it allows water inside. And that's when the water starts to get in.
Yeah, I always wondered how come it doesn't rain in your chimney?
Usually you have caps over the flues,
Oh,
so that prevents water from getting down. If you don't, you do get water.
right.
You don't necessarily have to see it at the bottom, but if it's inside, it'll soak through, and that's how you end up with your problems.
So in constructing a house, would you build the chimney first?
What's that?
In constructing a house, do you build the chimney first?
No, it goes up as the house is going up. So you build your frame house, and then you put the chimney up.
Oh.
It's all in part with everything.
So let's say there's a crack and water's coming inside the house and it's an older home and like it's right in the middle. So you gotta like take the roof and do all that and go down.
Yep. Usually
from the
through
top
the
down.
attic, and then drywall comes off and address the issue.
Wow.
Yeah,
Sounds expensive.
it can be.
Do you guys work with people then that help to do the roof and the shingles and the
Yep.
truss and all
Yep.
that? Or
Yep, I usually sub that out. I've got some people that are very good that work with us.
Is it hard to take a chimney down?
Depends on hard. Yeah, it can
Short
be.
answer, yes.
Short answer, yes. It's not for everybody, that's for sure. It's, a lot of it's also set up safety-wise. Once you get set up right, it
Right.
makes things a lot easier. So
so you can't go like office space.
you just
on
don't
it
go
or
up there with a
anything,
hammer
with
and start pounding
having
on it. Correct.
bricks flying and every.
Yep.
Not on the rooftop, maybe once you get inside, yes. Then go ahead and let the homeowner take out some aggressions.
Exactly.
Well, because I'm in the interior design program right now, and a lot of times, like, if we're looking at a home, like aesthetically, like we want the chimney gone, or we want to move it, or, because some, like you said, are built like solid all the way around.
Right.
And this one happens to be like in the center of the house, and it's like they want. What would you do? Like put a veneer over the top of it if you want to, or can some of them be scaled down?
So they want the chimney removed for more space, or?
Yeah, or a different look.
There's a lot of different looks. Cultured stone, thin brick they make, so you can change the whole look of the face of it.
So
to
you
make it
just
look
put that
better.
over the top of it.
Exactly.
Kind of like just
Yep.
veneer it over.
And that also goes with it, a lot of people aren't, into burning with the wood, the smell, the
Right.
clumsiness of it. So another great option for that is a gas insert,
Right.
which works really well.
Yeah, I think I like gas.
Yeah. So it definitely changes the look. Yeah.
A lot less
Switch.
maintenance.
Exactly.
Let's heat that house up.
Yep.
Because I noticed too, like with the, like I was telling you about my mother's condo down in Georgia, that actually for her to heat her house, because it has like 38 high-foot ceilings, and that's where the fireplace is. But actually, when she turns the fireplace on, it heats like the whole place because, like the furnace just couldn't do it because it can't get in the cool spots because the heat always rises up to the loft. So I told her to just run her fireplace for whatever, it's on a temperature gauge, and then just turn on the fan in the house, and then just circulate that air around. But she gets it sometimes.
Great idea.
Yeah, so I mean, it just, it's more pleasing to the eye than, and she just, women are all about that, the look,
Yeah.
and the feel, and she's like,
And the
coffee
convenience.
yeah.
Clicking this, yeah, that's it.
It's all about,
That's when they go in down.
We kind
Yeah,
of get
so
50
you need one of
on
these.
that. We get a lot of customers that they grew up with wood,
Right.
they want to keep with wood. And then, yes, you have the other clients that just strictly want the ambiance of the fireplace and don't want to deal with any.
right.
So the flip of the switch is great.
Yeah. Do you guys install those, remember those old-time fireplaces that, it would be that thing that spun around and looked like flames?
Oh yeah.
No,
No, I've
pretty much
taken-
do it yourself.
It's just
Yeah.
a light bulb?
Yeah.
I've taken quite a few of those out of fireplaces, but
Right.
I still got them in my garage if someone's interested in one. They work well.
Literally, he's not lying.
I'm not lying. Yeah. I even redo the tin foil in the bag, so it gives it the look. Looks good.
Wow.
It's like a disco ball.
Yeah.
Disco ball fireplace.
Absolutely.
So tell me about the animals that you find.
Well, if you don't have chimney caps, you'll definitely get animals, birds, bird nesting, squirrels, and the most common is raccoons. They live in chimneys and in the sewers, but every spring they have their babies in there, and they'll take them out, or we will take them out for them. So
There's smoke well.
What's that?
Or the smoke will.
Yeah, no, actually, a lot of times when you go to light it, they'll get up in the flue, so the smoke will come back in. So they
Oh.
won't let the fire get going. So
Right.
they're actually pretty smart animals. That's their house, and they'll protect it. So
Yeah. I heard those things can be mean.
they can be.
They are mean.
I used to be cute till one jumped out.
Exactly.
But yeah, that's why it's a good idea to have chimney caps, obviously to prevent water damage and also animal nesting.
So let's say I bought like a ranch style house here in Sun Prairie, and I wanted to have a fireplace. Now, what's the process that you would take? Obviously, I had to call you for an appraisal or like a
Consultation.
Yeah.
Right. Well, we come out and see where you want it, and the size of your house and what would be your best options.
Right.
There's just so many different styles of fireplaces. There's freestanding wood stoves. There's the inserts, like I said, gas, things like that.
Right.
So basically, just start to narrow it down to what you like. And
Can you do it without knocking out the exterior wall?
yeah, of course.
Oh, okay.
You can pretty much put a fireplace anywhere you would like it.
And I've seen some people like they try to install their own fireplaces, which I highly don't recommend.
Mm-hmm.
But like they think they can just put wood panel around the outside and do this and this and this, and it's like you're gonna burn your house down.
Right.
You need to I don't know what you have to do, but I'm sure it's not that.
You have to call us, and we'll come out and we'll get you going
Right.
and put it together.
A lot of them now have zero clearances where you can put a wood veneer up to it. They
Oh.
make 'em
Is
spec'd
that
out
the
way.
gas?
Yeah, mostly gas. I wouldn't say too many inserts are that way.
No, all inserts need to go up through.
Well, because with the fireplaces now, a lot of people like to go contemporary. Like with I call them croquet balls. I don't know, the cannonballs. Like the cannonballs or the glass. Like where it's all very modern.
Yep.
Do you do stuff like that?
I
also?
don't. No. I would recommend going to United Brick and Fireplace.
Okay.
And, they'd be able to set you up there with those
Right.
and have them installed.
But you could put the chimney in.
I basically do a lot of masonry, a lot of the
okay.
wood burning issues of it. So
Right.
I'm not so much on the gas end. I'm more of the actual wood burning.
But you're going to come over and help my issue.
But yours, yes, that's a draft
What's wrong with
issue.
yours?
He came over this winter because our gas fireplace leaks air inside the house.
Oh.
And
Poorly
so it's
insulated.
really cold.
Right.
So
So the box you said wasn't probably insulated.
right, it's got a direct vent in the outside. It's just a framed-in box, uninsulated, so all that cold air is coming into the house.
I think that's what goes on down in my mom's place too.
Mm-hmm.
Well, because in Georgia, I don't know, every year it gets like,
Colder and colder.
Yeah, and ice storms and whatever or not. But I mean, literally until she starts that fireplace, that whole wall is just froze. I mean, there's no insulation in the walls, I don't think.
No.
I mean, there's some, but
Yeah.
it's like paper.
Well,
But, I mean, what can you tell us special about chimneys, and what got you interested in it, and
Well,
how long does a project take?
the projects they just vary from what you want, what you can do. A normal rebuild, you can, from the roof up is about 2 to 3 days, as far as from tear down, set up, and then rebuilding. Fireplace inserts usually take about a day to install. That's with the lining and everything on the inside. But yeah, I started in high school. I started working for another company, and I stayed with him for probably about 15 years.
Oh.
And then same company Devin had worked for as well. And
I apprenticed under Jake.
yep, and we started my own business in 8 years now. I've been going and going well.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Well, what was I going to ask you?
Yes, I love my job.
Yeah, I'm at a loss for words.
Yeah, I actually called Jake. I was going through my phone looking up for chimney specialists. I had a house that needed proposals on, and I contacted, well, he was one of the only people that contacted me back.
Oh.
And
Hear that a lot.
because I contacted quite a few people
Right.
in Madison, and he actually went on the roof and inspected everything at the house, and his
Right.
price came. He made a nice detailed sheet and everything, and yeah, his price came in lower than the other guy. And I'm like, well, we're using this guy obviously because he gives a nice detailed sheet and everything, and
Right.
he calls me back, and he went on the
Yeah.
roof.
Yeah, he calls me back.
I'm going to say that's one of the most important things. It seems to be one of the simplest things, but
To call
for
someone
s-
back.
Yeah, that's
Well,
others.
yeah.
It's like, why didn't you just call me back? So
Well, yeah, how are you supposed to know?
Right.
You know, like a
Business
lot of people
101.
like to do stuff like through email. I'm like, I'm still like, I like doing it face to face, and I like meeting the person, and I like talking to the person. I can't do everything off email. I mean,
Yeah, that's how I'd rather be myself, just me.
Right.
And, that way I can obviously get more of a feel of where you're going or what you want. And
right. You know, that'd be like somebody text me like, oh, what should I do with my hair? And I'm like, well, I need to see your hair.
Right.
You know what I mean? I can't just tell you like, I don't even know what it's all involved.
Right.
I don't even know how long is it. Oh, it's about 36 inches. Like, well, okay, that's 3 feet. It's
How many
to your
cards do you
waist.
have?
haven't you gotten those phone calls too, where they tell you exactly what they
Yeah.
need and
right. And then you get there and
That's not
that's
it.
not what they explained is not even close to
Right.
what they want, or what I can do. So,
Yeah. Well, that's Google.
yeah, exactly.
absolutely.
Well, Google told me,
Yeah.
you're like, no, don't listen to that Google.
Right. Well, that's the other thing with that. It's one of those things as far as cleaning it and whatnot, people, they'll call up and they'll say, well, I don't think it needs to be cleaned, this and that. Just stop by and take a look. It's always just a good idea to have it checked out.
Right.
And, before you burn it, not burn it and have a problem and then call me. It's just easier to call and get it swept out to make sure everything's good.
And you said that's seasonal, you should do that?
I would, once a year.
Or does it just depend on how much wood you burn? or-
That does, but if you're burning bad wood, it's not going to take very long to get a dirty chimney.
No, what's bad wood?
Anything that's green or wet just smolders a lot more, which creates more creosote.
Doesn't that crackle better?
What's that?
Doesn't that crackle better?
It stinks. I wouldn't say
Smokes
it
more.
smokes
Smokes.
way more.
What's a good crackling wood?
hickory.
Hickory?
Hickory is really good.
He is the wood man.
Ah.
Yeah. You want to break down the king and the queen and the.
Oak is the king of firewood, maple is the queen, and
Oh.
so on down the list. Hardwoods obviously are going to burn better than softer woods. Softwoods are going to leave more soot and mess in your chimney.
Right.
Harder woods burn up more complete, and everything goes up and out.
Oh,
So,
I didn't know that.
like pine, with all the resin in there,
like,
it gets lined in your chimney. It doesn't really always make it out. So.
And they have different smells, would you say?
Yeah, I guess. Not
Not really. It all smells like something's burning.
Well, I mean, the hotter fires and, not so hot
plastic.
fires, there is a smell difference, there's a temperature difference, there's a quality of burn. So,
When they burn longer too, like the
absolutely.
hardwoods.
Right.
Right.
I do like the smell of fire, though, like campfires or wood burning fires.
Well,
Therapy.
I like that smell, but I don't want to smell like smoke. You
So
know?
you got to have your chimney clean.
That's why you have it burning
Right.
properly.
Well, yeah. Well, there's this. If you ever go to some people's houses, I mean, it's crazy because, like, if they burn like a wood fireplace or whatever, it's not be vented right because, like, this girl that I kind of hung out with in grade school or high school or whatever, but she just smelled like smoke all the time. But I went to her house and you could see like one of the paintings had moved a little bit, and it was just like,
Oh, yeah.
like the paint was fresh behind it, and all the walls were like gray, but you couldn't tell until you moved that painting.
Right.
Do you have to wash your walls too if you burn wood?
No, you shouldn't have to. Not if it's
So
burning.
you shouldn't smell like your fire, like a fire, if it's wood burning in your
You
house.
shouldn't have the smoke smell, or see the smoke, obviously. But that's a lot to do with also the wood. If the wood's wet, obviously, hot air. The more hot air you got, the better the draw is going to be. When it's too much smoke, it doesn't heat up the chimney, and that's when it wants to bellow back out. So, burning good dry wood is a lot of the key to having a good fire.
Well, I know like fire pits are a big thing right now. Do you also install those?
I don't. We're busy enough doing chimneys and everything else. So,
If we
I
had
try
a
to-
team of
yeah.
chimney specialists, by all means, yes,
Right.
we would
Right.
take that on.
Well, I was just wondering because I just thought it was brick and mortar. And
If someone wanted one, I might do one here or there, but
Right.
it's not that much different than doing an actual.
like for
chimney.
Laura, because her hair's so pretty.
I'd do one for Laura if she wanted. Yeah.
Maybe for Laura.
Or
a
like
pin.
making one of those nice like outgrill barbecue kind of like smoker things.
Yep.
We've talked about doing that in our
In your
backyards,
houses?
but business first.
Well, try Laura's first. Try it at Laura's.
Yeah, we'll
house.
experiment on yours first. If it don't work, we'll
That
just
works.
undo 'em.
That works. That works.
work.
Have
What's
at
that
it.
smoking? Oh, I'm just, yeah, it's just smoking.
Just
out.
curing my
Just-
ham.
Right.
Yeah, it's away from the house. It's not burning. It's fine.
What, did Laura build a smokehouse in her backyard? Whatever you guys need smoke, bring it over.
Right?
Because I just love that smell of smoke. No smoke rub for me.
Yeah, well, I usually go back in the little pit that we have and just throw my old bills on there and just light a fire. I'm like, there we go.
I throw the new ones on
That
there.
was sad. The good ones.
Come
They
get
burn
me.
better.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean,
They're dry.
They feel better.
well, they're obviously paid, but
Of course.
Yeah, I'm like, I never got it.
Right?
Yeah. Well, also, like, too, like, with gas, like, a lot of people like to burn their mail in their fireplaces. Do you suggest that?
If you got a clean chimney, feel
Right.
free. That's the other part. It's burning paper, cardboard, or obviously never wrapping paper, the colored paper. If your chimney's dirty, because that burns fast and hot, that's
Right.
how chimney fires will start. So,
Okay, I know I asked you this, like, before, but before the show started, but, okay, explain how the flue works in a chimney.
the flue or the damper? Either.
Pick
The
a-
damper, a lot of
thought they
people
were
will
the same
confuse
thing.
the damper with the flue. And the damper is actually what you open to the flue. So that allows the smoke to go out.
the little metal piece.
Right. So the damper you open first, and your flues are normally flue tiles, which is terracotta, that run 2-foot sections all the way up the chimney. And that's what all the smoke and everything travels through.
Oh,
So the flues, that's when those are cracked, that's when you end up getting smoke and heat where it shouldn't be, and that's where your problem's going to start.
oh.
So a lot of chimneys need to be relined, which then we convert to a stainless steel liner instead of the terracotta.
Does that heat up more?
It heats up faster, but it actually pulls everything out better
So-
than a flue tile. Because flue tiles will tend to be obviously cold, a lot colder in the winter, so it's hard to get that draw going because it's going to be pushing cold air down. You want hot air up. And
So with your damper, okay, after your fire is going at a good rate, then is it safe to close your damper up a little bit? I mean, not close it completely, but
I
mean,
wouldn't. I leave
You
them
always just wide open?
wide open. Otherwise, what happens is once it does start to die down a little bit, that's when you're going to get a little bit of smoke coming back.
Oh.
But if it's open all the way, you're at least creating that heat for everything to get going out.
So with installing like the chimneys and all that, so like where the flues heat up and take the smoke out, do you also install like blowers? Like to blow heat out of?
A lot of the new units all come with blowers, or the newer units that we put in, they all come with blowers already on them.
So now how does that heat up? Is that just from like the box itself and then it heats that
Yep.
air and then?
The box gets heated up and then it blows it out.
Oh, okay.
So, and it's all airtight, which makes it more efficient. So you're not, all the heat from the house isn't going up the chimney. It's got a sealed door, which basically is just reburning the particulates of the wood, which obviously you get more burn time then off the wood, and then it creates that much more heat.
So then that gets the oxygen through the vent on the bottom?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. Which is still your damper that you're adjusting, but it's an airtight stove. So
Right.
you can adjust that, obviously to burn more or burn less, but you won't get the smoke back because it's all airtight.
Is it, because like some people's chimneys, I've noticed like, even like ours we had a farm home and like it was a two-way fireplace, but when you would start it, like the smoke would go and then go right out the other side.
Right.
Like it wouldn't stay in the middle. So I would just pull the grate like closer to this side, and so I figured it would go up.
Right.
And then it also had one of those built-in like soot drawers where it went down into the basement.
Oh, the ash pit door.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so I would leave that open thinking that it would, push air up and push it up and out. But
Yeah. That
that
didn't
thing
work.
probably, it was probably 100 years old. Yeah. It was probably the first chimney.
Yeah, a lot of double-sided fireplaces have it's hard to get them going just because it's so much air mass trying to get
Right.
through the flue. They just don't tend to work as well.
So that's when you get that.
That's when you either get the gas, or I'm still doing it, or you can always break up one side of it as well.
Right.
You know, so it's pick either your kitchen or your living room, whichever side you want.
Right.
And break it up. That'll make it work a lot better as well.
So do you guys actually go inside there?
Inside the chimney?
Yeah.
No, I used to when I was younger, but not anymore.
Did you watch a lot of Mary Poppins?
You know what? I did. I actually saw the play this year in the Dells, and it was very good. Very good. Got photos.
Did chimneys?
That's
We
right.
asked quite a bit where our top hat is also.
Costs extra to sing.
Would you fit in a
And did the
chimney?
little dance?
No,
Oh,
10 years ago,
How big
yeah.
are they?
they all vary. Some
I
of
know.
them I could, but I'm not gonna.
Because I know, like, like if you go up to, like, what is that, the Great Wolf Lodge, or, that other place in the Dells, it has that huge fireplace that's like 6 feet wide and, 4 feet high. I mean, that's just for looks, right? Because, like,
Can't say I've ever seen it, but
because I went to the Biltmore Mansion. It's the world's largest, or it's the largest house in the United States. And it was they had like 3 grand fireplaces, and I guess that's the way they heated the house. But back then, they were actually smarter back then, because when they built that house, like the crosswinds and the drafts and everything, like they placed the house so it would always have a draft going through it, and so it would always cool it down or heat it up or.
Interesting.
But, because I see some huge fireplaces on these shows, kind of like The Devil's Advocate, it's like, does that really heat your house?
I'd have to see it. But if it's a traditional fireplace, you're probably losing more heat than you're getting, just because it's pulling the air from all the other rooms up the chimney. So that room's going to be a little bit. You might be heating the area you're in, but it's got to have oxygen, so it's going to pull it. So the other rooms are going to be cooler.
So what is the best way, or like where would you essentially locate like a fireplace if you wanted to heat your house?
Well, it's not so much location as it is, what you're putting in. I recommend the wood burning insert, which, you're getting you can get up to 24 hours burn time off of, one set of logs, which is going to create, obviously,
Right.
good heat source. And they're airtight, they're efficient, you're not losing heat, you're actually pulling all the heat out of the wood into your. So it's all just a matter of what you're putting in your fireplace.
Does anybody have like their fireplaces, like how it has a built-in like blowers, have that hooked up like to their duct system?
Sure,
Oh.
sure.
See, now that would make sense to me.
Right. That'd be like an add-on wood stove like you put in the basement.
Right.
And then you get your ductwork that goes right from it to it. So those definitely work well. You don't see those so much in Madison, but,
Right.
other counties, people still burn that way.
Because I think that'd be nice, like up on a cottage on a lake,
Yeah.
where, like you could run your fireplace, but then have it connected to the ventilation system and have it push through and just warm up the rest of the house.
Yep.
Huh.
They work well.
But again, like Jake said, that's kind of old world now.
Yeah.
They don't normally do that.
It's just because we've came so far. As far as inserts go.
Brought us all along.
I did.
Where are we now?
Yeah. But
Come
with,
on, guys.
they've came a long ways as far as inserts go. So
Right.
you can actually, like I said, you can burn 4 to 6 logs and get 24 hours out of it and heat your house
That's cool.
off of that.
So what's like one of the most unique fireplaces that you've ever installed? Or the most challenging?
They're all challenging. They're all, they're not all challenging, but they're all different. None of them are ever really the same. It's
They
hard
make
to-
them pretty
it's-
simple
it's
now
hard
to
pick, yeah.
install. I mean, with the liners and the T connections and
Right,
the
you just-
inserts. Yeah, everything is. I mean, you have to be specialized in it. You have to know what you're doing, but
Right.
now
I'd
the
have to say some of them downtown, the 3-story buildings with the pitches, and
Right.
it makes it challenging, but when it's done, it's pretty rewarding to.
Well, where
look
is some of your work that we'd see?
Honestly, I'd have to say every other block I've got a chimney.
Oh.
Yeah, we've done quite a few, so they're all over. I've got chimneys all over the place
So-
in Madison.
Is it hard to put up a chimney not to look like the Leaning Tower of Pisa? Well, I mean, to get it straight.
It's experience. It's like anything, you know.
Right.
You learn the
'Cause
right way, and it's a lot of level work, making sure that everything's straight. But yeah, you can definitely see someone that doesn't know what they're doing. You know, you can see the wrong chimney being
Got
built.
a brick hanging out.
Yeah, you'll see it leaning or twisted or all kinds of things. So
Right.
Wow.
yeah,
Does anybody ask for like a unique like chimney, like
Yeah.
a swirl or?
I've asked for swirled chimneys or, you know, tops set at 45s, you know, things like that. So,
Right.
which can be done.
Right.
You know, obviously price-wise goes up, but you know, it's
Or they want
Time
with
is
the,
money.
or they
whatever
it
you want,
this
we can
slant
do.
of the roof.
Right. So,
Well, thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
coming on the show and
you.
explaining us about chimneys and what woods to use and what woods are bad. And if your house is smoking when you're having a wood burning fireplace, it's time to clean it.
I agree.
Correct.
Yeah, we'll be looking for your chimneys every other block.
Sounds good.
Great, thank you.
Exactly.
And they'll be there for a while.
Okay.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of The Home Extension. I'm Laura.
And I'm Mike Michael.
Have a great day.
Today's project is texturing a wall. As it often happens in remodeling, you do one job and it creates several more. Well, in this case, we tried to update the kitchen by taking some railings and some trim off the soffit, which dated the kitchen quite a bit. We took all that down, and then what we noticed was the soffit was a different finish than the rest of the dining room and kitchen. And the dining room is kind of a, it's called a knockdown. And it's an older knockdown, so it's been painted quite a few times, but it's in really good shape and it has a nice look to it. So what I'm going to demonstrate today is to how to do a knockdown on a flatter wall to get these two rooms to kind of like blend together. You can also do it after drywalling if you're real ambitious. It does take some time, it's patient work, but it has a really nice look to it. So the first thing you could do is to get a piece of old wood or an old piece of drywall to practice on, because that really helps you kind of get the feel of the tools and how the mudding should go on there. So I've got some lightweight all-purpose joint compound. That's the material that we're going to use. I've got a nice kind of wavy sponge. They're a little bit pricey, but you have to have one of these to have the look. And I've got 4 different sizes of scrapers here. This is the last one you use, and these are just to fit in wherever. So the first thing you do is you take a nice smear of joint compound, and you just kind of smooth it on the surface like that. You don't want to get it real thick. You can, and then you have a thicker kind of like knockdown. And every which way. You don't have to go with a certain way. You just kind of cover your surface. Simple as that. Then take your sponge and you just kind of pat it. And you can see that the surface of this is pretty solid. Now with our joint compound, and it does cover a multitude of scents too. So now we're going to let that dry a little bit, and I'm going to show you what to look for when it's ready for the third step of really kind of smoothing this out and knocking them down, but you have to wait till the joint compound dries just a little bit. This wall I've already done and it's dried, so you can kind of have a look at the finished texturing. But I'm going to start in this corner because that's where I stopped. It's a little bit awkward, but kind of get as close to the ceiling as possible. Using your scraper to kind of put that on smoothly. Not real thick. And relatively even. To do a bigger project, it would take a lot more, but I really basically can do this with one bucket of joint compound, so that it's a really inexpensive way of doing a project, because that doesn't cost but $7 or $8. So I'll do a section about this size, then get my sponge, and I'm going to sponge it. I want to sponge it as far to the ceiling as I can. Just go back there with my finger and smooth that out just a little, so that it goes right up to the ceiling. And I'm going to try to get that joint nice from my last texturing that I did, texturizing. And then I'll go back over that. Okay. Continue as we go across. And I'm not so sure that you can see, but you can see how smooth this is. This was where the wallpaper was, and this is where the trim was. And I did repair that a little bit. But if I just painted that with a semi-gloss, which is what the owner wants, it just would look really rough. This is going to make it have a real nice, consistent look. You can also do texturizing with sand paint. If you go to your big box stores and ask for texturized paint, it would be paint with sand in it. And you can also then add sand to paint to make your own texture. I've done that, and that you roll on. It's pretty messy. But if you have sand texturized walls, that would be the product you would use if you did a piece like I'm doing today. The reason I'm doing the knockdown process is because it was done before here. Scrape on a big bunch and just kind of spread it around, really. It's kind of like putting frosting on. And the other thing is, it washes off nice. So, you know, if you do get a little messy, it comes off really well on your clothes and on anything you drop it on. Okay. Okay, it's just about ready to do this. You can kind of like put your finger on there, and it's wet, yet it doesn't come off. So now you're going to angle your wide spatula, and you want it to be clean, and you just drag it down, and then it kind of knocks the top off. For the wall, it would be probably a little bit better, so you can see that, and you just drag it straight down. You can't mess it up, so that's not a problem. You can press hard or not as you see a pattern develop. You can do a little space right there in that one. So you can go back, but you can see there's a little mud there. I'm going to scrape that off because that'll kind of mess up my pattern. And there's the texturing kind of knocked down. And now that, if it were on the wall, when it dries, I always prime it, and then it's ready to paint. When you do it on the soffit, you want to put your scraper on the top, bring it down. Then, because the cupboard's in the way, I'm going to start in the bottom and bring it up. And work my way across the soffit. Another use of this particular knot down technique of texturizing can be used over wallpaper if your wallpaper is really tight. And it's a great way of covering wallpaper if you don't want to go through that removal process. I have done that and it's worked out really well. So again, you start at the top and you work your way down. And you can go over the other way. And you can tell if your joint compound isn't dry enough, because right now I'm seeing that it's just still a little bit wet, so I'm going to let this dry a little bit longer. One thing you can do after your texturing is dry, if it's a little rough, just give it a little smoothing out with your sandpaper, especially around the light. I'm going to give it a little more because it's harder to knock it down around the light, getting behind there. There's a place up here that I think is too rough. But you can always smooth it down just a little. If you're going to smooth it down a lot, I would certainly have your vacuum cleaner up here doing this while you're sanding, because that does save this big mess you're going to make. But you can touch it up like that. So there, now I think that that is kind of nice and smooth, and it will be ready for priming and finishing.